Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people looking to live life at their peak potential, chock full of real-world tools and knowledge that you can apply in your life today. By providing you with a lens into the lives, beliefs, practices, and actions of those who are already living extraordinary lives, the Performance Enhancing Podcast will help you shift your mindset or create that change in your daily rituals and habits so you can explode with success in the areas of life that are most important to you. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with SatoriPrime. Here's your host, Elon Ferdman.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another pep talk with your host, Elon Ferdman. So we just rounded up 201 episode with some of our favorite guests and listeners and people who have actually interviewed us and my parents. So if you didn't hear that one, it was quite a special event. And I wanted to start this next 200 off with a huge bang. This was an icon for me as far as getting this person on. It was a complete shot in the dark to even see that they would accept it. It's someone that's been a huge impact for me and my health and fitness over the last, at least, I'd say 10 years or so, if not even more. And his name is Tony Horton. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the biggest people in the in-home extreme fitness industry. He partnered up with Beachbody, and since they started, they've sold over $1 billion in in-home products, which is incredible. He really took the world from this not existing to now being the norm, which is absolutely amazing. We speak about that journey, his journey on making that a reality. We also speak about how his first actual big branded product, P90X, originally bombed and how they turned that around, which I thought was a really powerful story. And then obviously we're going to talk a lot about fitness, but in this part specifically, we talk about a lot of the reasons why people don't succeed in their workouts. So part one is a lot of Tony's story and backstory. And then part two, we're going to talk about how to stay young, what supplements to take, what books to read, the future of exercise and that whole world. So definitely make sure to check these out. You're going to hear me stutter a little bit in the beginning. I was shocked, starstruck, I guess is the right word. So hopefully you enjoy this. And I look forward to providing you guys with 200 more absolutely incredible podcasts. Enjoy my part one interview with the one, the only Tony Horton. Let's get busier.
Let's rock, man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is I don't even have words to explain what is about to happen. I haven't said this to Tony, but let me introduce you first. So the one, the only Tony Horton. If anyone's ever followed me or heard me speak about body transformation, working out, etc., you've heard this man, and he is here live. Welcome.
Welcome, Elon. Tony Horton, at your service. How may I assist you today, my friend?
Here's what I want to tell you. I didn't even say to this. Wow, I can't speak. I haven't said this to you offline, which is I have a running list of people that I've always wanted to interview. And you were in my top 5 people of all time.
The Pope.
It's different. You know, people in my top 5 were
the top 2 right there, yeah.
Wayne Dyer was in my top.
Yeah.
Love him. Tony Robbins was in my top 5.
Yeah.
Robin Sharma, just because he made a huge impact on me with his books and stuff.
Right.
You were at number 4, and Roger Federer was actually my number 5.
4. I'll take 4.
Yeah.
I'll take 4. 4 is cool, man.
Yeah.
4 is better than 444.
So it's amazing. And I'll tell you why I've always wanted to interview you, because I feel like you set a new standard in the fitness industry.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And I mean that in a way where, and maybe I'm wrong, but before you, I don't think there was this like in-home fitness model that you helped Beachbody kind of create. Is that actually true?
I think in the modern era, no. I mean, there was Jack LaLanne, and you had to tune into his TV show, but it wasn't something you could just sort of, play whenever you wanted to play with the DVD or now on demand, right? So, and there were a few, but they were sort of myopic in their approach. They were just maybe a stretch DVD or maybe a weightlifting 101 kind of thing or a dance thing. But most of them were just products that you would use that, that were supposed to do everything that usually didn't do much of anything. And then eventually they ended up at the end of your driveway at the end of 6 months in the garage sale. So I was really sort of the first one to make in-home fitness, especially extreme. I love air quotes.
Yeah, me too.
Extreme in-home fitness, because most people assume you needed all kinds of equipment to kind of kick your butt. But, you really don't. A couple of bands and some dumbbells and a surface that's about 6x4 will get her done.
Yeah. So here's the question. When something doesn't exist in the world, it takes someone to stand up and go, let's make that happen. So to me, you were that person, which is why I've always found it intriguing to find out what your process was and how did that come about? How do you just all of a sudden wake up and go, you know what? I'm going to revolutionize the in-home fitness arena.
Well, it takes a community, and that's what Beachbody is with me. They hired me to be able to do this thing. And but I had a in-home training business, and I was pretty successful doing that, just driving all over the city of LA, like a lot of people at that time. This was in the mid '80s, the late '80s, and there were a lot of trainers, that were kind of dealing with celebrities. There was Gunnar Peterson, and Billy Blanks was somebody who had kind of a martial arts angle on things, and he was teaching classes, right? And the advent of the internet was coming up, and infomercials have been around forever, but they were selling, sharp knives and whatever, pantyhose that don't run, and things like that. But Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, had a background in that, but he's always had a great interest in fitness. He always was looking for better ways to get people in shape without having to go through the rigmarole of getting your stuff and getting in the car and then getting in traffic and then parking the car and then taking your stuff and then changing and getting in the locker and then waiting for somebody to get off that machine after they sweat all over it. You know what I mean? There was just, there's a calisthenics have been around forever. Push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and crunches and lunges and squats have been around forever. But just how, who is the person to be able to deliver that message? Add a little bit more variety, which is what I did. I mean, if you look at P90X, for example, even the early Power 90, which you happen to have on half-inch tape, you psycho.
Yeah, VHSs, baby.
Hey, that could end up in a museum. I think
I probably believe it.
It could be worth like $40 on eBay in 20 years, so or Craigslist. But I basically recreated what I was doing for Billy Idol and Tom Petty and Annie Lennox and Ewan McGregor and Usher and others. But, without all the machines, how can you, Carl basically said, can you recreate what you do with your clients, that, the kind of results you've given with them and sort of, compact it into a small space with just bands and dumbbells. And that's what we did with Power 90. And then we added a pull-up bar. That's all we did with P90X, and the pull-up bar question was always a big headache for people because they don't necessarily have their pull-up bar in the same room they have their TV set. So, but everybody has a pause button on the remote. So that was an easy fix, And when we proposed this thing, even as far back as Power 90, which was 6 days of working out and 7 days of eating right, no one had proposed that before, unless you were an athlete, unless you were a high school, collegiate, or professional athlete. Those are the folks who lives depended on training on a regular basis, and also eating pretty well and making sure they got the right supplements. Everybody else were just sort of recreational folks, or they were doing their own thing at the gym, and so we weren't out to sort of revolutionize anybody. I mean, it was like Henry Ford. Everybody was on horses and buggies, and then he came up with this electric horse buggy. Yeah. And everybody said at that time, "Hey, man, how do you know anybody's going to want this?" He said, "I'm going to make it so damn good that they're going to just have to want it." Yeah. And that's what Apple did. That's what they did with Apple as well. So we just took what we already knew, and we put it in a format with a lot of variety. And then I had an acting background, so the delivery system was unique in that sense. A lot of trainers are funny. They don't spend enough time in front of a camera or in front of an audience. They don't do voiceover work or ADR work. or feel comfortable, in front of a camera. I feel more comfortable in front of a camera than I do people, because it doesn't talk back. And I don't have to listen, which is great.
I was just going to say, because you don't have to listen.
It's just the camera and me. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to show you 3 ways to do it in case you're overweight and you're, whatever. And so that was, for me, I had a lot of overweight rock and rollers that have been, sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the 70s. And I had to kind of pull them out and find ways with my personality and certain nuances in the training techniques to help them get to that level so that they could get in great shape. Because, rock and rollers and trainers, there wasn't really sort of a mind meld there. They were 2 different worlds. And so my job was not to piss off my fan base and to make it kind of fun and throw a few jokes in, and maybe they were funny, maybe they weren't. And also to show people 2 versions other than the perfect version in which to do something. I noticed that's the biggest problem with a lot of trainers. Even now, you would think after my stuff's been popular for years, that too many trainers are saying, do it like this. Really? I'm not physically capable. I'm overweight. I lack coordination. I have 2 left feet. I've never thrown a punch in my life. I don't even know how to pronounce yoga. You know what I mean? So trainers don't know how to break it down for the average person. And the reason why I did that is because that's what I needed as a kid and I never got it. And so I said, hey, look, it's got to be a better way. And we've sold close to $1 billion worth of my products from P90, from the original the original Great Body Guaranteed, which was a long time ago. I was younger.
Don't have that.
Look, you don't have that one, man.
Nope.
I was young and handsome back then. All the way up to the latest, 22-minute hardcore, which premieres in March.
Oh yeah, that's the new one?
Brand new, all military base, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard, all represented. Big
awesome.
16 to 22 people per cast. We shot on the USS Iowa. We shot in an aircraft hangar, and we shot out in the middle of swampy woods. Really raw, really gritty. And we wanted to use real vets. Real vets to say, hey, look, these are the folks that defended our freedoms, and you're a fat ass, and they're out here to make sure that changes. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's great, man. We're really excited. 22-minute hardcore.
March, you said?
March 1st for the general public. But if you're a Beachbody coach, some of you are, maybe you aren't, you have access to it sooner.
Awesome. It's funny that you said that because I was just at Fort Bragg. I know you've traveled the world.
I've been to Fort Bragg. Yeah.
Yeah. I was working with a company called American Dream U about helping soldiers transition out of the military. And I know you speak about this all the time, it being one of the most fulfilling things that you do in your life. It was an incredible gift to be able to give back like that. So thanks for doing that too.
Yeah, man. I've been to 45, 46 military bases around the world, from Kosovo to South Korea. I've been to Japan twice, been to Europe twice, Italy and France and Germany and, Okinawa, just anywhere and everywhere. I'm super busy. If I'm going to travel, that's what I'm going to do because it's such an adventure. It's just you're at a different base every day. You're on buses and planes and trains. Yeah. Pretty awesome. It's been, it was just a fluke. I was at Andrews Air Force Base. The colonel at that time, Colonel Stephen Shepro, he's a 2-star general. He's a part of the Joint Chiefs of Staff now. He does daily briefings at the White House, and he's become a friend, and he's a pretty cool guy. He knows he's qualified in, 5 jets and 3 helicopters. He's just a badass and just smart and just a, great guy. But he invited me to come to Andrews one day, and he converted 4 tennis courts into a giant workout area where they would project P90X on this huge screen.
Wow.
Doing it in Iraq and Afghanistan when he was stationed out there. And it really helps keep a lot of our warriors, keeps their heads on straight, with post-traumatic stress disorder and stuff like that. It's just brutal, man. And so fitness sort of affects the brain as much as the body. I think too many of us are exercising for all the wrong reasons. And he understood that to keep his guys sharp and to keep them sort of, level-headed, he used the program and he brought it back to the States. And that's where I started. And then I got hooked up with Armed Forces Entertainment and the Department of Defense. And Armed Forces Entertainment is actually a little division of the DoD. And so, I've done a bunch of tours. Domestic I'm actually going to be in Dallas doing a couple of coming up this spring, doing some stuff down there. And there's so many bases, it's crazy. I've only maybe just started.
Yeah, it's amazing. So let me just ask you real quick before we go on to some of this other mind-body stuff, which I want to talk about. But When you were getting this whole enterprise off the ground, are there one or two stories that you remember where it was like, this is impossible, we're never going to do this, huge, massive obstacles, and kind of what it took from you and the team to overcome those?
Well, there was a big debate about P90X, whether it should be 6 DVDs or 12. 12 seemed to everybody in the corporate end of things that it was too complicated. And, that's where the whole concept of muscle confusion came from. And the reason why, and my philosophy was, and the reason why I had gotten great success, not only in my own physical changes over time, but with a lot of my, high-end celebrity client types, was that too many of them were getting bored, injured, and they were plateauing because they were in the past working with just a yoga instructor or just a Pilates instructor or just a bodybuilder instructor or just doing cardio. And so they were getting bored, injured, and plateauing, and that was not good for them. And so the idea was to kind of create some sort of general muscle confusion from day to day, week to week, month to month. And that way the body is always sort of, always prepped for change and optimal for change and not going to fall into a rut. And that's the reason why it became so popular, because people who had never had an athletic day in their life were finally getting in shape because I was working on their weaknesses as much or more so than their strengths. And so if everybody gravitates to their strengths, no one wants to, to re-educate themselves after high school and college. And it's the only way you advance in this world, the only way you grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually even too, is to just constantly bombard yourself with new intel. We all think we know, we have all the answers after high school or college, and we cling on to the same old stuff, and the blinders get tighter and tighter. We can't figure out why we have so many problems, so many injuries, so many issues, so many lousy relationships, and no money in the bank. You know what I mean? So the idea here is to ask for help, man. What do you need? Ask for what you need. And if you keep going around in circles and you're not finding answers, then you're not gonna be successful. And so these are the simple principles that I got from Wayne Dyer, I got from Don Miguel Ruiz, that I got from Tony Robbins. I've been to more self-help seminars and self-help books. Personal development is now the new catch.
Yeah, that's the term.
Self-help, no good.
Yeah.
Personal development, great.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But I was doing a lot of personal development. And I learned, there's the same themes keep coming up over and over and over again. You know what I mean? You are the company you keep. Don't be attached to the outcome. Try to be in the moment. Failures are just opportunities, learning opportunities and great stories. You just have to change the way your brain works.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we got, everybody in the industry said, not a shot. No one's going to work out 6 days a week and eat right. Those workouts are too hard. And initially they were right. The thing didn't sell at all. It was just sort of overwhelming. But a small group of people saw the infomercial who had never picked up a phone before and ordered anything off an infomercial or QVC. I would go to QVC and I'd say, I've never been to QVC before, Tony, but I see you on. I see that you have a deal right now. My uncle, my sister, my father, my teacher, my whoever got the program and got great results. And so it's just kind of knocking down the door and believing in it. It's about faith. It's about faith and belief. If something could be completely crap, but if you believe in it, seriously, the placebo itself, the placebo effect will work. We didn't do that. We gave people, honest to God, joking.
I'm so verklempt. You're so moved?
That's my egg white omelet this morning. Coming back to haunt me. But it was really just kind of believing it. That's what Henry Ford did. That's what Elon Musk did. That's what we do. You just
so
have
it
to
didn't sell for a while?
No, the first year it tanked.
Wow.
But the few people that did actually buy it were submitting their before and after pictures, and we weren't even asking for them. They were just sending them our way. Hey, look what your program's doing. And they were doing a lot of home video and sending us their home video. So we kept saying, hey, send us more of that if you're having great results. So we took the test group people and sort of the fitness models and those types out of the original infomercial because we didn't, the test group folks were great testimonial, but they were like in a lab, where we were feeding them, super clean every day. And the average person at home, they've got cravings and issues and certain needs, cultural needs, tastes, and things like that. So, the fact that they were making those dietary shifts and exercising 6 days a week and doing it on their own and submitting the before and after photos and their own little stories on videotape was compelling. It was compelling to us. So we just kind of added some music, put it in the infomercial, and it went like this.
Wow,
man. Yeah, and I didn't have to live in my 2-bedroom rent control apartment with a view of a convalescent home anymore.
So that was good.
I got to moving on up.
It's interesting to me because like I told you, I've seen you kind of through your journey. I mean, Power 90 was what? That must have been 15,
17.
7.
Development started 17 years ago. Yeah.
So I mean, you've kind of like, that's what I said. You've been in my home personally for a good part of
since you were 5 years old.
No, I mean, P90X was the first one I bought personally. That must have been at least 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I was 46 the first day we shot it. I was, so I'm 57 now.
Wow, you turned 50. Oh, that's right, July, right?
Yeah, July 2nd, I turned 57. Or did I 58? I don't know, man.
It doesn't matter. We're going to get into the aging thing.
57, I'm going to feel good if I thought I was 58. But then, who knows? So
in your head, I think you're still 22, so it doesn't matter.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
You've transformed a lot, both from just – because I've done a lot of personal development work as well. And I've just seen your growth. Obviously, the body changed in every single one. And I think you kind of changed the methodology of what was important to you. With P90X, it was much more about being super strong and like bigger. And then as you kind of went, P90X2 was much more athlete driven and fitness. And P90X3 was now taking that and making it really intense and short. But I also noticed that there was a transformation in the mindset, the way that you delivered, what you spoke about in the in-between things. So I'm just curious, what kind of journey were you on? Wayne Dyer also, he reminded me, like, when he was in the early 70s, he was very ego-driven. It's like, oh, let me share with you how amazing I was. And you kind of saw his path. You got to go on that path with him. I felt like I've gone on that path with you. I'm just curious from your perspective, what you notice occur in your life during that time.
Well, a lot of different things sort of affect you as you progress through life. Your priorities should change. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that they kind of stick with what they know, not only physically but also sort of emotionally and mentally. And the world is changing. Your relationships are changing. Technology is changing. Everything's changing. And if you're not changing along with it, then you're going to be pretty frustrated in the end. And so, I was just very fortunate to be sort of in the right place at the right time, quite often, meeting the right people at the right time, a lot of serendipity, a lot of synchronicity that was going on in my life. And I read John Rady's book that really changed the reasons why I exercise. I think most people still, I would say a vast majority of people still exercise for what I consider sort of the wrong reasons.
Sure.
The reasons why you get bored, plateau, and stop seeing results is usually because you're exercising for ego-based reasons, things that sort of feed that ego. Like, what are the things I need to do to change the shape of my arms and my chest, back, and my waist, and my booty and my legs? None of it is. Most people, the average person, because they're not athletes, and that's understandable, are not performance-driven. They're not looking to be better. They're looking to they're doing it to look different in the future. They're doing something now with the hope and the faith that down the road there's going to be an aesthetic change. And that's, I don't know, that's a little debilitating. And that's the reason why a lot of people are frustrated, because maybe they're not athletic, or maybe they're a little uncoordinated, or they got some extra weight, that the time frame usually ends up taking longer than they anticipate. And that can be frustrating. That's the reason why most of my programs are 90 days, because we understand that it takes at least 3 months to make those kind of dramatic changes. And in honesty, P90X and P90 and Power 90 for women should be called P120X and
it doesn't have the same ring though.
And ring, but women really honestly do need an extra 30 days typically to get the kind of you want. Just because it's a difference between estrogen and testosterone and all those and dopamine and serotonin and all those kinds of releases in the brain. And women's hormonal cycles kind of screw their ability to kind of lose weight at the rate that men's do. But, we don't want to put all that in there because it's just too complicated. But just do it again for 90 days and do it again, Yeah. But what I've learned is that exercise, especially as you get older, at 57, I still want to perform well on skis. I still love to be able to do a lot of pull-ups and handstands and go to the track and sprint as fast as I can for an old guy. I like those kind of performance-based things. But exercise is really about the effect it has on the day.
Yeah.
On your day. I mean, so if you train today, you're better today. If you eat today, you're better today. What do you got? You got today. You don't got tomorrow anymore, and you don't know what the hell. You don't have the past, you don't have the future. What you have is the present. So what can you do to affect it so that you can be as productive and happy and as energized as you possibly can for today's tasks? Dealing with your family, dealing with traffic, dealing with work, having a better sex life, improving your sleep patterns. It affects your circadian cycle at night when you're sleeping. That's why you exercise. It also is cognition and memory and acuteness. And, you see a lot of old folks who just are, it's really hard for them to sort of piece a sentence together. Yeah. It takes a little bit longer. Their voice gets a little bit more shallow. The thing is to be able to, you want to exercise to stay as vibrant as you can, as long as you can. And you need to do that every day. It's kind of like water, it's kind of like food. It's kind of like sleep. It's kind of like shelter. It's kind of like going to work. You know what I mean? All the other things that we do to survive. We do our survival things automatic. You know what I mean? Yeah. But thrive things, which require maybe half an hour to an hour of exercise a day and maybe eating better and not eating manufactured factory food. Maybe those two things. And more people get it. I mean, we all understand that the healthcare crisis is a result of our bad habits. It's not gunshot wounds and car accidents. That the healthcare crisis is something that we created. Not the government, not pharmaceutical companies, not insurance companies. That's something we did, and so they're trying to overcompensate for our shitty choices. So now you have an opportunity to improve that, right? I mean, I'm in the middle of a move. I'm in 2 different houses. I don't have a gym yet, so I get up at freaking 6:30 and I drive to my other house and I meet my buddies at 7:15. And I go work out because if I don't, my day's not going to be as good. And you don't have to, move a rock up a hill. You could just walk up the hill, you know what I mean? Or you could just walk, or you could crawl or something. But what you want to do is move your extremities in some fashion that appeals to you, and that will affect your internal organs. The stuff that you don't see that ends up killing you in the end: your heart, your lungs, your liver, your pancreas, your prostate, your colon. Hello. Those are the things that usually malfunction because you didn't move and didn't eat right, and you have that control. You're going to die of one of 3 things: environmental, right? So Chernobyl, Fukushima. You don't want to hang out in any of those places. Yeah. You don't want to be places where there's bad water and air and stuff like that. There's also genetic, which you don't have control over. Your parents, right? They have heart issues or high blood pressure, or maybe they're an endomorph or whatever the heck it is. That's part of it. But behavioral is the reason why most of us die early. Yeah. Behavioral choices, right? Things you can control. You look, who feeds you? It's your hands and your gob, man. Nobody feeds you but you. So you got to get your head right somehow. You got to figure out how to make healthy foods taste good. That's it. I don't like steamed vegetables either. Steamed vegetables taste like wax, like green beans. Are you kidding me? Brussels sprouts, I'd rather take a bullet. You know what I'm saying? But you figure out how to roast them and grill them and season them and, whatever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden something that used to taste like, like bird poop now tastes magical. And it's just learning. If you're not willing to learn how to make these things better, then you'll always be frustrated. You'll always be tired. You'll always, have the problems that you have. And it gets fixable, man. It doesn't require a lot of money to do it, too.
I think, though, that it's, you struck it in the beginning, which is it's a mindset and it's a choice. And when your choice is performance-based, you create lifestyle choices. When it's body-based, look-good-based, then people will go on these crash diets or insane diets that it's just physically impossible to maintain because their goal is so short-sighted. And it takes that for me, it was interesting because that's what P90X did for me. It actually gave me the motivation to ongoingly challenge my body. And then by doing that transformed into, well, now I got to eat better. And by doing that, different supplements. And by doing, like you just start going down this rabbit hole. And now it's just a lifestyle. It's no longer this thing. It's just, I don't perform well if I don't do that. And so that's how I do it.
Yeah. The thing is the transition's a bitch. It just really, because when you're in one headspace, it takes a lot of time to get into the new headspace. And then there will always be events in your life that will kind of want to pull you back. You know what I mean? And so, I don't enjoy exercising 80% of the time. I really don't. I mean, unless I'm just, I have knee issues and neck issues and shoulder issues. And I've my foot sometimes and whatever, but you do your PT, you do your foam rolling, you do your ART, you take your jacuzzi baths, you get your massages. There's a whole bunch of new stuff in your life that has to happen. When you're younger, you don't need those things as much. You can kind of just go and heal up in a half an hour. Yeah. But at my age, you just have to become more sophisticated about it. You got to re-educate yourself. You got to understand that certain lifting heavy is not really conducive to my performance as a skier. Yeah. They have nothing in common, and to work on your weaknesses. You know what I mean? Really, I mean, I'd never been to, I had never been to a yoga class in years, and I've been training for years. And so finally got dragged into one, and I was terrible. I was in a flop sweat and down dog after 5 minutes. So like, wow, who knew that this was hard? But now it's the fountain of youth, and I would never miss a week of yoga ever. And you could just like roll out of bed and do 15 minutes at the end of your bed, buck naked. Who cares?
Yeah.
You do your couple sun salutations, do some deep breathing, and you level out your cortisol levels, and you don't need a cup of coffee to get there anymore. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, well, okay. But, people want to cling on. This is a thing, and I love it, and I got to have my 2 cups of coffee. Coffee. I got to sort. Take some Aleve until my stomach explodes.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to be that person at the age of 69 with that silver tray of pharmaceuticals sitting there like your grandmother? Is that where you're headed? Because, it's so much easier to go like this. You know what I mean? Or go, or whatever. You know what I mean? That's why, fast foods are still amazingly popular, and pharmacies are springing up everywhere because it's easier just to shove stuff in our mouth with the hope that it's going to work. But it's what kills us. It's temporary, those kinds of things. And you're not vibrant anymore. You're not living large. You're not hiking, biking, canoeing, skiing.
But you forget.
You're not going anywhere. You don't even have the courage to get in a plane to go to Europe and go walk around and see what's going on over there. You know what I mean? I think close to 80% of Americans don't even have passports. Like, wow. You know what I mean?
It dulls you, though. I think because it slowly happens, and then you don't realize that it's happening, and the next thing you know, that's life, and you've just been resigned to it. And that's why I think what you're saying with the transition, it's like now you're snapping yourself out of that unconscious autopilot mode, and it takes a little bit till it goes full throttle, and you're like, holy shit, like this is life. I forgot about this. And then you go. So I want to ask you now with my brother actually wanted me to ask you this question. He's saying, now that you're getting older and learning different things about the body and what works for you and doesn't work for you, for a lot of people, ourselves included, I look to you, I'm like, you're in better shape at now 57 than I am at 35. And that's just, It's incredible.
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right.
You've set because for me, the older generation, I remember my grandparents at 50 and they looked like grandparents. You know what I mean? And now my parents who also do P90X, my dad's in good shape, but like I'm at 34, 5 right now, and I am in better shape. Yeah, also can't remember.
57, 58.
Yeah, exactly. Who gives 24 in my head, and that's where it stopped. So
exactly right. Man.
I'm in way better shape today than I was in college or than I was at 30. And I see that kind of, now I look to you and I'm like, wow, this is still possible, way down the road, which to me before wasn't even a possibility. So I'm curious, how are you finding ways to age gracefully, stay vibrant? Like, is there routines? Are there supplements? What are you finding has made the biggest difference for you to do that?
Well, it's here's the list. First, it's hydration. As you're taking a sip of water, there you go.
Done.
It's timing.
Done.
That's called timing, everybody. We did not plan that.
Nope.
Hydration is important. And by the way, I don't know, 3/4 of the American population is dehydrated because coffee's dehydrating, sugary drinks are dehydrating, all that other crap that we're putting in that is liquidy is usually dehydrating, even though it's liquid. You know what I mean? There's not enough water in what we're drinking. So dehydration is certainly something. Too much alcohol consumption is another issue. It's just a massive ager. It's a temporary problem solver.
And you don't drink, right?
What's that? No, I haven't drank in years now. I have no interest. I mean, all the reasons why I used to drink don't exist anymore. A situation like this where I have to get on and sort of talk to people, that's when I would have a pop, you know what I mean? Back in my 20s or whatever. Or when I would go out at night because I was, somewhat insecure and, I was a little bit, it just helped me kind of relax. And I had a lot of issues that I wasn't dealing with in a sober state. So when I was a little enhanced, I would have to, I was just sort of escaping a little bit. So, yeah. But I just sort of attack life now and have some fun, and my personality is enough that I don't need to drink and make it work. So those reasons are gone, and also for health purposes. I mean, I could tell you 24 stories of people who are doing one of my programs and struggling, and then I would get kind of into how many cocktails or beers they were having a week, and anywhere from 7 to 17. It's like, wow. Wow. So you drink every day, and most people do have a drink every day, every night, a glass of wine. They think that's normal and healthy, and that's fine. But it's calories that create part of the problem. So a friend of mine was an executive. We figured out it was 17 drinks or beers a week, which, broken out over 7 days, a couple of days. It doesn't seem unreasonable to him anyway. He cut it out, and the weight just disappeared. I mean, he said, holy crap, man, I'm losing 2 pounds a day all of a sudden.
Wow.
He just pulled it out, you know what I mean? So it's hydration, removing sugary drinks. I drink soda water, carbonated water, Pellegrino, and water and tea. That's it, man. And I have shakes, I have blueberries, strawberries, kale, cashews, and some almond milk. That's not water or tea, but it's all nutrition in there. That's another thing. Another one is sleep. The one thing that is everything requires you to do nothing, and that's sleep. And we don't get enough of it. So our bodies age because our cortisol levels there's a circadian cycle. They happen in about 40-minute cycles throughout the night, deep and REM and all that stuff. And so whenever it's shortened or interrupted, you can't figure out why you have baggy eyes and crappy skin, you know what I mean? And why your brain's a fog. And so what do? You've already got high cortisol levels from your lousy sleep. So you throw back a couple of buckets of coffee, which raise the cortisol levels, also known as the fight or flight hormone, which just ages everything, every organ, your skin, your eyes, your soft. I mean, it's an ager, right? So, wow. These are just things that people don't know. And when you sort of begin to make those changes.
So hopefully you guys get a chance to kind of tell why I really, really like Tony Horton. He's kooky, he's crazy, he's fun. He just is Tony, right? And one of the biggest messages that we talk about here at SatoriPrime is always just do you. And I think he does that better than most on the planet. No holds barred. I actually got a chance to, after the interview, hang out with him for another 30, 45 minutes. My wife came down, was also starstruck, and we just chatted. He walked us around his house, was cracking jokes, and it was just amazing to see this guy who I've kind of had in my living room and workout room for so many years, and just seeing the other side of it. So for me, it was a really, really special event. We're going to continue in part 2 more along the things that have helped him stay young. So definitely come and check those out. We're then also going to talk about difference of supplementation and things that you can do, as well as books that have made a big difference for him, and the future of fitness and exercise and health and well-being as Tony Horton sees it. So hopefully you enjoyed part 1. I know I did, and I'll see you on the next Performance Enhancing Podcast.
Did you run through doors till you